Welcome back and happy Monday to everybody. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. We're finally back to a game week versus Arkansas coming up this weekend. So, of course, on Mondays, we always take a look at the opposing team's offense versus our defense. As always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, y'all, let's take a look at this matchup on paper. First, Arkansas is a very, very balanced offense. They're going to run the ball about 40 times a game, and then they're going to pass it about 35 times a game, which is, that's really good. We talked a lot, seems like over like the past week or so, about teams being able to establish that running game. And yeah, some of those runs will definitely be from their quarterback, but we'll kind of touch on that as we go through this. So looking at their total offense, they're ranked number 13th in the country currently, averaging about 495 yards per game, 6.5 yards per play. Tennessee's defense is ranked number 1 in the country as far as total yards given up, with about 176 yards per game and then 3.1 yards per play. As far as the scoring offense for Arkansas, they're ranked number 33 with about 35.8 points per game. And then this right here is their sacks given up number, 2.4 per game. That's good for about 101 in the country. Tennessee is number 2 as far as points given up per game, averaging about 7. And then as far as the sacks go, we're ranked number 90, and we get about 1.8 sacks per game. I think that's going to start to go up this weekend. So let's move on to the passing numbers. Arkansas's passing offense is ranked number 27 in the country. They average about 283 yards through the air per game, and they are completing passes at about 56.2%, 7.9 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Those numbers really don't wow you, especially the touchdown to interception ratio. Now, Tennessee on the other side of that, we're number 4 in the country as far as pass defense goes, giving up 125 yards per game, 57.3% passes are being completed on our defense, 5.2 yards per attempt. And we have only given up 1 touchdown through the air. We all know that that was in some mop-up duty versus Oklahoma. And then we also have 2 interceptions on the season. So down to the rushing numbers, Arkansas is ranked number 21 in the country in rushing, 212 yards per game, 5.2 yards per carry, 18 touchdowns on the ground. Again, some of that is going to be coming from their quarterback running the football. He is a true dual threat. And then Tennessee's rushing defense is currently ranked number 2 in the country. We are only allowing 50.8 yards per game, 1.6 yards per carry, and we've only given up 1 touchdown on the ground. We all know, again, that came versus OU, and that was in some mop-up duty. As far as the third downs go, Arkansas is actually really good in this category because they do have a mobile quarterback, and that's the ultimate X factor and equalizer, I think, in this game, period. But, ranked number 5, and they are converting at about 55.4% on 74 attempts. Tennessee's actually ranked number 1 in this category, which is something for us to definitely be proud of. We are only allowing 17% of conversions on third down, and that is based off of 53 attempts. Now, for the red zone numbers, Tennessee is better here as well. Arkansas is ranked number 107. They are scoring at 75% in the red zone on 24 attempts. 16 of those are going to be rushing touchdowns. 1 is a passing touchdown, and 1 is a field goal. That number right there, 75% in the red zone, that's not good. I mean, you should at least be coming away with a field goal in the red zone. So that should be close to about 98%. And Tennessee is ranked number 7th in this category, 62.5% on us with 8 attempts, 1 touchdown, and 3 field goals. Finally, to the turnovers, Arkansas is ranked number 112. They have given up 5 interceptions, and they have lost 4 fumbles. Tennessee is ranked number 56 in this category with 2 interceptions and 5 fumble recoveries. Now let's talk about Arkansas's key players on offense. And of course, it's going to be starting with their quarterback, Taylor Green. He's going to be number 10 on their roster. He's listed at 6'6", 230 pounds. He's a redshirt junior. He transferred in from Boise State. His passing numbers this season, he's gone 88 for 162. That's good for 54.3%, which is not good by any means. He's not a very accurate passer at all, but he does have 1,236 yards through the air, and he's averaging about 7.6 yards per completed pass, 5 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Those numbers do not wow you at all. But it's just as far as the rushing numbers. He has 72 carries for 331 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. I believe that he's going to be their second leading rusher, just as far as carries and probably yards as well this season. So he's definitely a true dual threat quarterback. Now, he's big, he's strong. He's definitely very, very fast, but I would not say that he's a shifty guy. He's got really good straight line speed, but he's probably not going to be making you miss out in the open field at all. He's not going to try to finish his runs by lowering his shoulder or nothing like that. He's going to be a lot more of kind of like a big, straight running target for our defense, but he is fast. So we're gonna have to make sure that we are containing him and keeping him inside of that pocket, so that everyone can just kind of get in on him and just kind of hold him up so that the rest of the team can come on up and finish up with those tackles. And, just as far as him as a passer, he has a very strong arm, but not a whole lot of arm talent. What I mean by that is he can throw I mean, I wouldn't even say that it's like Joe Milton because Joe Milton's arm is definitely stronger, but he has a strong arm. He's not going to be as accurate. I don't know if I want to say he's a little bit more accurate than Joe Milton, but just because he doesn't throw the football as hard, I think that his passes are going to be a little bit more catchable. So hopefully all of that does make some sort of sense to y'all. But, also whenever he does escape out of that pocket, he's looking to run first. Now, he might kind of have a body posture of, hey, I'm going to try to throw this, but he's really not. I haven't seen him throw on the run that much. Every now and then he does. But if he feels those footsteps coming, he's just trying to get the heck on up out of Dodge. So that's something that I know for sure that our entire defense is going to be able to see on film. But I do want to show y'all this here real quick. I want to take a look at some of his Pro Football Focus numbers so that we can dive a little bit deeper into him as a passer. And what y'all are looking at first and foremost is going to be this top box. And I'm going to scroll that up right there. Okay, so what we're going to be paying attention to is how deep or, what passes are they throwing the most inside of this offense with Taylor Green. So as far as passes that are 20 plus yards from the line of scrimmage, they're doing that about 15.2% of the time, and they're only completing about 32% of those passes. That's not good, but at the same time, the deeper those passes are, typically the lower, the chances are that you're going to actually be able to complete those passes. So moving on down to the passes that are 10 to 19 yards from the line of scrimmage, they're doing that about 28% of the time. So we got to definitely watch out for all the intermediate stuff. They are completing those passes at about 45.7%. The short passes 0 to 9 yards from the line of scrimmage, they're doing that 37.2% of the time, and they are completing about 70% of those. Now, if you look at the passes behind the line of scrimmage, they're only doing that about 11.6% of the time. Now you can see that that they are able to complete about 90% of those. I don't even think that that's a very good number. It should be closer to about 95%. But they're also not throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage as much as most college teams do these days. Modern college offenses will throw a lot more behind the line of scrimmage. So I think that that's interesting. This offense is going to have a good mix of pro style and a little bit more of the modern college style as well. So let's scroll on down here. Let's take a look at the more specific areas that they are targeting and what is the success rate in those areas. So first and foremost, they are targeting the short center area 20.1% of the time, and they are completing about 67% of those passes. And I'll scroll it down right here at the bottom. It would be this area that they're talking about. So they're doing a pretty good job there. You can see that there is one interception in that area. So, he's not doing a great job of taking care of the football. We already know that 5 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. So the next highest targeted area for them is going to be the intermediate center. They're going there about 15.2% of the time, and they are completing about 56% of those passes. So that would be this area right here. And I can tell you right now, we will get into this a little bit more, but this is a team that loves to, work those seam routes. And that's basically what this area would be. So not very accurate here. You see that there are 2 interceptions. That's a good thing for our defense. Let's move on to the third highest area, and that's going to be the intermediate right. They're going there about 11% of the time, and they're only completing 33% of those passes. So that's not very good. So the intermediate right would be right here. That's going to be those deep outs. That is an NFL throw. And I think that they're going to be very, very careful throwing that pass on our secondary because, if you're late with those types of passes, those are pick sixes. And just to kind of like let y'all know, for right-handed quarterbacks, you're going to see that their passing chart that you're looking at right here is going to look about how this one looks, just as far as, what the targets are. Is going to be the middle of the football field to the right side. And then on the left side, you're not going to go there as much. And, you're going to be a little bit less accurate on that side of the field. So looking at all that information, I would say that, yeah, Taylor Green is a guy that his ceiling seems very, very high, but just as far as whether he's actually going out there and playing, it does not wow you. And, again, we're going to kind of, touch on him a little bit more as we get deeper into this video. But we got to get to the rest of their key players. So we're going to be talking about their running back. He's number 22. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his first name because I do not want to butcher it, but I'm just going to call him Jay Jackson. Listed at 6'2", 233 pounds. He is a redshirt senior, and he has 79 carries this season for 509 yards on the ground, 6.4 yards per carry with 9 touchdowns. And as far as his receiving numbers, he has 8 catches coming out of the backfield for 85 yards. So they will kind of throw it to him some, but not very often. They just kind of do that to, I guess, try to keep the defense as honest as possible. They're going to try to be as balanced as they possibly can inside of this offense. But whenever you look at his rushing numbers, really, really good. He's a big, fast, strong, physical guy with good balance. I love him as a running back prospect. I don't know how high his draft stock is going to be just because he's a a little bit older, but I do think that he's a guy that Tennessee's going to have to come up and bring their A game with. Like, you're going to have to tackle him with multiple people. He has really good vision too. I like what Arkansas scheme looks like. They'll run some outside zone, some stretch plays. He will put his foot in the dirt, find that crease, and get up that field. So this is going to be a game that our linebackers and our safeties are going to have to just play really, really well and run support. But also, I think that they're going to have to, they're going to get challenged in that passing game too. So really good player. I think that he's underrated. Really, there's several players here that we are going to talk about that if they played on a team that had a little bit more buzz, you'd hear them, or you would hear the analysts and stuff talking about them probably every single week. Now, the next player is going to be the first wide receiver that we'll be talking about. He's number 2 on their roster, Andrew Armstrong, listed at 6'4", 200 pounds so far this season. He has 29 catches for 420 yards, averaging 14.5 yards per catch. Hasn't gotten into the end zone just yet, but I love his game. I think that he can do it all. Big, strong, fast. He's really, really shifty whenever he makes those catches. He has strong hands. So, he is going to definitely be a challenge to our secondary pieces and maybe even to the linebackers. Now, mostly he is going to line up on the outside, but I've seen him kind of motion him in, maybe to try to get a mismatch on the inside. So he can line up in a plethora of different areas, and he can definitely put some stress on our defense. Now, the next player also at wide receiver is going to be number 6. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name either. I'm going to call him Isaiah S., but he's listed at 5'11", 185 pounds. He is a redshirt junior. He has 16 catches for 240 yards, 15 yards per catch with 1 touchdown this season. He's going to be their slot guy, really good speed. I think he runs really nice routes. He's going to play hard. He has good hands, and he can make you miss, after the catch. So he's a guy that, whether they're trying to throw the football to him close to the line of scrimmage or on those seams or on some hitches, whatever it is, some hitches kind of like more to the outside, whatever it is, we have to make sure that we come up and tackle him because he is another really, really good player. So the last player that we will be talking about today will be one more wide receiver. He's number 4. His name is Isaac Tesla. I hope that I'm saying his last name right. And he's listed at 6'4", 217 pounds. He is a senior. He has 9 catches for 205 yards, averaging 22.8 yards per catch. He has 1 touchdown this season. So he's a guy that I've seen line up on the inside and on the outside. He's really shifty. He runs great routes. He has good speed. He's big. He's strong. You can kind of say that about all these guys. They've got good size. They've got good speed. They run good routes. They have good hands. This is just SEC ball now. Like, this is for real SEC time. So it is going to be a challenge for our defense for sure to try to bottle up all these guys, just as far as their, key skill players. Now let's take a look at Arkansas's offensive line. This is going to be from Pro Football Focus as well. We're going to dive a little bit deeper this week, y'all. But I can say this first and foremost, that their offensive line, they are a real SEC offensive line. It's going to be the best offensive line that we've seen this entire season. Everybody up front is big. They're all capable. But I'm not going to say that they're world beaters by any means. We should find some success. So let's take a look at all their individual starting offensive linemen right here. Okay, number 55, this is going to be their left tackle. We can look at their, grades off of Pro Football Focus, but y'all know that I take the grades with a grain of salt. So let's actually take a closer look at the pressures that they've given up. Right here, you can see on 197 opportunities, this guy right here has given up 9 pressures. So he's at about 97.2%. That's not absolutely horrible, but 9 pressures, I think that should tell you a whole lot. If this is their left tackle, who should probably be their best pass blocker on the entire team. So we're also going to take a look at their left guard, okay, right here, number 76. You can see that he has had 203 opportunities, and he has given up 8 pressures. So he's at about 97.8%, just as far as, having success versus pass rushes. That is, that's pretty solid. But again, you can see where there will be some opportunities, especially whenever you consider who they have faced up against this season. It ain't gonna be nothing like what what our defensive line is gonna look like by any means, y'all. Now, so their center right here, we know this guy number 63, Addison Nichols. So far, he's had 165 opportunities, and he's only given up 2 pressures. So he's at 99.4%. Now, let's keep in mind that Addison Nichols is a guy that I think P said it perfectly in yesterday's video. He probably wouldn't have even been our, backup center this season, which is part of the reason that he is now playing at Arkansas, but he's starting for them. So we do understand, though, right, that Sam Pittman is a really good offensive line coach. So maybe Addison Nichols has picked it up. I think that he's looked good so far on film, but we'll see how he's going to hold up versus our guys on the interior coming up this weekend. Now let's take a look at their right guard. He's number 72. Let's see if we can find him on here. right here, number 72. Okay, this is their right guard. He's had 197 opportunities and he's given up 8 pressures, which is good for 97.7%. So pretty decent. But man, look, 8 pressures, that ain't good. So the last one is going to be with their right tackle, who is number 54, and he is right here. So look at him. Okay, he's had 197 opportunities and he's given up 21 pressures. That's good for 93.9%. That's not good by any means. And I can tell you right now, these numbers do back it up. The right side of their offensive line, the same thing that I've been seeing on film, it's going to be a problem for them, okay? From the right guard to that right tackle, I think that we should have an absolute and total field day attacking that side of their offensive line. All right, y'all, now we have a good understanding of how Arkansas looks on paper, but what does the eye test really tell me after watching film on these guys? First and foremost, it's always about who can win that line of scrimmage. I think that our front seven on defense versus their front seven on offense, it's going to be a tougher challenge than we've seen this entire season. No questions asked. They've got a pretty solid offensive line that we just talked about, but there are still some holes there. And I feel like our guys can find some good individual matchups where they will win. I do feel like we have the edge there without any questions, but they do have a really good, running back. And I think that they can have a really good running game, especially if they stick to it. We'll see what they do in this game, but it's going to be critical that our linebackers are, flowing well. First and foremost, our front four, we got to keep our linebackers clean by keeping their offensive line from getting up to our linebackers on that second level, because Arkansas will run a lot of outside zone. They'll run inside zone. They'll run stretch plays. And in pretty much all of those schemes, Arkansas is going to want to get their offensive linemen up to the second level. So it's going to be number one on our front four to keep our linebackers clean. Number two, on our linebackers to do a really good job of identifying where the players are going and being able to either beat the offensive lineman coming up to the second level to block them with speed or with strength. I don't care how you do it, just do it. You got to be able to beat that big old running back in the hole before he can get downhill. So it's not just going to be about our front seven, but our safeties also. Safeties and the star player are going to be critical in run support in this game, because we already know that, Arkansas will run some read options where Taylor Green will have the option to either hand it off to Jay Jackson or run it himself if he gets a favorable look. If he gets to the outside, he can run a long, long way. So I know that that's going to be a very strong point of emphasis from Coach Banks to our defense. And we know that Coach Banks will have a really nice game plan for this one because he played up against Bobby P last season at Texas A&M. And we know that that's a game that Coach Tim Banks' defense won us, that, we won that ball game because of our defense. So I would expect that he understands what to do versus offense. And really, I would say that A&M's offense last season from top to bottom was a lot more talented than this Arkansas offense is going to be this season. Outside of maybe the ceiling for Taylor Green at quarterback is going to be higher than, I can't even think of, was it Wegman or something at A&M last season? I don't know if he even played in that game. Either way, okay, the quarterback play I would expect is going to be a little bit scarier in this game versus Arkansas. But yeah, I mean, they can do a whole lot of things in the run game that just Tennessee's going to have to play very, very sound, fundamental, and disciplined football. Now, I also think that Arkansas is going to try to, run some jet sweeps and things like that, because Oklahoma had so much success doing that, against us whenever we played. So whenever one team has some success doing something, you already know that the next team that you face is going to try to do the exact same thing and see if you figured out how to stop it. I know that we will have something in place to stop it. It wasn't all of them, but I would say, a good portion of those plays that Oklahoma was able to hit on the edges with was because we had our, edge guys were slipping and falling on that terrible grass out there in Norman. So hopefully the playing surface will be better this weekend in Fayetteville. So I think that we'll be fine from that perspective, but it will be a game that's going to test our linebackers and our safeties, I would say, the most, because outside of their running game, which puts a whole lot of stress on those guys, also in their passing game, they like to run a lot of seams, which focuses more on the middle of the field. So if you look at the hash marks on a football field, like just running straight down that's pretty much what those seams are. And almost, I'd say it's got to be more than 80% of Arkansas's pass plays have somebody going down those seams. Now, they can either start off on the seam or they can start off on the outside and have a wide receiver to the inside of them running like a switch route, which is something that Tennessee does as well. But they're going to work people on the seams a lot, okay? It could be on the front side of the play. It could be on the back side of that play. But it's something that's very, very heavy in what they like to do just in that passing. And they want to try to stretch you out vertically. They want to try to hit those home run passes. And they'll try to lull you to sleep with a whole lot of short dink and dunk stuff, just to try to open those things up. So it's going to be tough. You know what I mean? I think that we could probably stick in a cover three, which if you're talking about kind of getting into those passing lanes and windows for those seams, that can work early on, especially if you are getting to the quarterback really quickly. But if they can kind of, get down the field, it's someone's going to be open. So we cannot let them have time if we're going to stick in cover three. We'll probably see a good mix of, cover four. We'll probably try to go man some too, but it's scary going man with a quarterback that can run because all of our secondary pieces, they have their backs turned all the way down the field. So it'll be interesting. You know what I mean? Like just this chess match, I think between Coach Banks and between Bobby P, it's going to be a very, very fun one. And I would expect that Arkansas is going to definitely try to have some help on that right side, especially if we have James Pierce on that right side, because y'all know we like to run stunts and twists where James Pierce might not just be coming off of the edge, but he could start off on the edge and then get matched up with that right guard, who I don't think is going to be able to stick with James Pierce at all. He's shown that he struggles with speed. So, I think that, Arkansas will have someone over there just to try to chip. They're going to give James Pierce a lot of attention, but we've got other guys on the other side that we know should also find plenty of success. And, I feel like P said it best, really in yesterday's video, that the guys on the interior of our defensive line should have a field day going up against guys like Addison Nichols and, just their whole bunch. Really, those guys have wreaked havoc the entire season. I would expect nothing less in this one. Probably should be able to get home, I wouldn't say super frequently, but at some point in this game, we should be able to get home just bringing four. Taylor Green holds on to the football like 3.1 seconds, or it's something like that. Don't quote me on it. But I mean, that's amongst, holding on to the football more than a whole lot of players, in the entire country. I think he's like top 15 for players with 150 or more dropbacks. It's something like that. So he holds on to the ball very, very long. Our guys will have time to get there. We will dial up some pressures, blitzes, things like that coming from a lot of different areas. I've noticed that Arkansas's offensive line also struggles with blitzes coming from the second and third levels. So, expect for that to be, definitely a part of our game plan in this one. But, I would say just all in all, it's not a whole lot that we haven't seen before, really, even this season. It's going to be a good mix of, like we talked about earlier, some good, it's going to be a good mix of pro style and also some kind of like spread college offense type stuff. But, we are ready for all that. I'd say, again, if you're talking about just up front, whether we're talking about stopping the run, which is first, our front seven should be up to that challenge as long as we can just contain Taylor Green, which we will have game plans for. And then also, if you're just talking about our front seven, in that passing game, I think that they'll be fine. But the linebackers will have to get back to depth just because with those seams, they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to try to carry those wide receivers or tight ends up the field as much as possible and try to make Taylor Green use his legs. Hopefully, by that time, the pass rush will have gotten there. But talking about our secondary in in run support, also just in just being in coverage, I think that they'll be just fine. This game, this team, their whole style of play, it really fits into how we like to play. It fits into just everything with our secondary. So yeah, they're gonna have to come up. They're gonna have to tackle guys out in space every now and then. But it's going to be a lot more about some angle tackling, which is going to be a lot easier on some smaller guys that are coming from the secondary. But yeah, I mean, I would just think that some of these bigger targets, like a Taylor Green, 6'6", 230 pounds, he's a straight line guy. I think that we're going to try to tee off on him and not injure him, but we are going to try to hurt him and make him want to quit, which I've seen him do. I've seen him throw a whole bunch of picks. I've seen him get benched. Things like that. So I just think that this should be a game that Tennessee's defense should be very dominant from the first to the third level, I would say, for a full 60 minutes. I would expect that hopefully our defense can get a few turnovers. I would say probably more sacks than we've had in any other game this season. James Pierce, if the over-under is at 1.5 right now at this point in the week, I'm taking the over. I think that he's going to have a really, really good day. He just needs to settle down, make the tackles. We talked about that some last week as well. But those are my thoughts on this matchup. Please let me know yours down in the comments section. And as always, thank you for sticking all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see you all in the next one. Thanks. Peace.